welcome to this video lesson, which I'm going to show you how I play I'll Fly Away in the key of D, which is a really common key for it. A lot of guitar players seem afraid of D, so they'll play it like it's in C and capo on the 2nd fret, but I think D's a really cool key, and this is a nice vehicle to show you some of the ideas I use for when I'm playing in the key of D. So I'm going to play through it so you can hear how it sounds, then we're going to go through the tablature, talk about those techniques. The tab's going to be up on the screen, but if you want a PDF of that, or you want a PDF of the lead sheet, which will be included in that, or you just want to support me, please think about supporting me on Patreon. That'll be linked below. Anywho, this is how this song sounds. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some bright morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to that home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. Alright, there we go. So that's the tune. Let's talk quickly about the form here. So in the key of D, we're using 3 chords, D, G, and A, the 1, 4, and 5 of the key. And there's this melody, right? Some bright morning. So let me put the chords up and I'll just show you. So the first line, some bright morning when this life is over. Now here you'll often hear people put a D7 to kind of help us get into the next line, which is a G. I'll fly away. There's back to the D. Then we have the third line, still saying on the D, to that home on God's celestial shore, which is the same melody as the first line. Then we have the last line, I'll fly away, D, A, D. Now, there is a chorus to this tune. It's the same chords. It's really only the first 8 bars that are different. The melody is, I'll fly away, oh Lordy, G, fly away. This is back to the same melody. When I die, hallelujah, by and by. D, then an A, back to D. Alright? So that's our melody there. Now, I'll talk more about the techniques I'm using when I go through line by line through the tab, but a couple things I want to point out is D can be a bit tough because when you're playing G, you can keep these fingers down and kind of play nice low melodies and strum. When we're playing D, you're often higher up, so it's a bit harder to get the melody to come through, or you can't play the melody you want and then get back to the D chord while you're holding it. So a couple ideas here that I do in this tune is sometimes I will just hit the open string, right? You could also just kind of give yourself a rhythmical chunk, which is something that's nice. That's also something I will do when I'm playing in the key of D when I can't really get to it. Yeah, those are kind of like the big things. I also like double stops kind of help. You have to watch out because we'll talk about this when we get in the first line. So let's jump into this first line. So here's the first line of the tablature. Let me play it once. Okay, there we go. Now you'll notice the melody is right in the chord. We have a hammer on at the beginning. The tough part here is because the melody is right inside of the chord, if you're strumming that chord, you're playing more than, when you're playing the melody, you're playing one note. And when you strum the chord, you're playing more than one note. So just naturally, a chord will be louder than one single note. So you have to make sure that because this is more important, you hit this harder and that softer. Now here I do sixths and like, do it all with sixths here, right? And you'll notice I'm muting out the 2nd string. So I'm hitting 3 strings, but I'm just kind of touching that string with my first finger. Now you could just do it 6th, right? But I wanted this D7 there, so what I do is I switch at this point to the D7 shape, but up a fret. So we have that side step where we drop down to this chord. And now here we're leading into a G, D, there's that G note we want right on the G chord, or right before the G chord. Okay, so let's take a look at the second line. Now the melody here is normally da dee da do da 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 dee da do do, something like that. I've done it kind of a different thing, and I'm just playing kind of a G7 like here. Right? So we have that anticipation. That first note is a pull off, and then we start here da da do da do dee do dee da do da. I like to slide into this 6, but we're basically outlining this G7 chord. Right? So that's that idea. The main thing that's important here is we end on that D when we have the D. So that's kind of a lick you could do even in the key of G or the key of C. It's just something that you could do on a G. And that's something I like to do in the key of D. You'll notice like here I could strum, but because I'm up here with this first finger, I don't want to get back there. That's a lot of time. I'm just going to go. Okay, now we're looking at the third line here. Right? So, a couple things here. We're going to a D chord here, right? This D chord is like an A shape, but we're going to bend the third to the note we want. Because the note is this, F sharp, and we're just going to bend towards it to make it a bit bluesier. And then I'm double stopping with a note from the chord. That's a D chord, just the top 2 notes of D chord, right? Now, here you could do this chick sound. That works pretty well, but I chose to just hit this note. That third time I hit double just to make it a little more interesting. Right, now here what we did with the 6, right, we have F sharp as our melody and A is the 6th below. We're going to invert that. So now we got F sharp as our melody, but we're going to go A, which is the 3rd above. Same note, just an octave higher, right? So here I'm doing the same thing, but I do it twice because I like that. I think the chromatic thing is interesting, so I want to emphasize the chromaticism here. So the last thing I'll say is those 2 bars, I really want to do it as a bit of a crescendo, so I start quiet and get louder, okay? I still like that da 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 da, so I continue that on for the last line. That was basically what I played, right? I just keep doing this. As long as I could keep doing it, I just keep doing it until I have to end. Oh, I got to end, so I go ending at the right time. That's the idea. Now this little last line here, if you remember in the second line, I had this, which is something I like to do, and I almost wanted to do it again, but I thought, how could I change it? So instead of going up, down, I just kind of flipped it. I went down, up. And that's a nice thing to do with any lick. Anything that you like, you should always try to mess around with it. How could you make it more bluesy? How could you make it, like, could you figure out different ways of doing it, right? Because it's really not that big of a difference. Right, but it actually becomes way more usable when you have a couple variations of it. Okay, so that's the way that tune sounds. I'm going to play through it one more time at a slow tempo, right? Again, if you want the PDF or you just want to support me, please consider doing so on Patreon. Yeah, this is a fun tune. So let's go through it nice and slow with the tab on the screen. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hope you enjoyed this. I had fun. Okay, until next time. Bye.